The 5-point solar maintenance check. Every homeowner should do hello and welcome to all my new and returning viewers. It's great to have you. Let's get right into it. Your solar panels could be silently losing you money right now. You made a smart investment to slash your energy bills, but if you're not doing 5 specific checks, you might as well be flushing cash down the drain every single year. We're talking about invisible issues, things you can't easily see, that could be crippling your system's performance. And this isn't a small dip. Real-world data shows unmaintained systems can lose a significant percentage of their efficiency, sometimes ranging from 10% to 25% or even more in heavily polluted areas. Think about that. You paid for a high-performance engine for your home, but it could be running on fumes. That feeling of frustration, of not getting the return you were promised? It often comes down to a lack of simple routine upkeep. The good news is, taking back control is easier than you think. You don't need to be a solar engineer to protect your investment. Today, I'm walking you through the essential 5-point solar maintenance checklist every solar homeowner needs. So let's start with point number 1, the simplest, but one of the most powerful habits you can build as a solar owner: a regular visual inspection. This is your first line of defense. It costs you nothing but a few minutes a month, and it can save you a fortune by catching problems before they spiral out of control. You don't need to be an expert, and you definitely don't need to get on your roof. In fact, let me be crystal clear about this. For this check, stay off the roof unless you're a trained professional with proper safety gear. Once a month, just take a walk around your property and use those binoculars to get a good, clear look at your solar array. So, what are you looking for? First, the obvious: dirt and debris. Are the panels caked in a thick layer of dust, pollen, or leaves? Are there significant bird droppings? A little dust is normal, but a heavy, stuck-on layer is actively blocking sunlight and needs to go. We'll get to cleaning in a bit, but for now, just make a note of how they look. Next, scan for any physical damage. Look over each panel for cracks, chips, or anything that looks like a burn mark. Modern solar panels are tough, but they aren't indestructible. A crack in the glass is a big deal. It wrecks the panel's weatherproofing, letting moisture seep in and corrode the electronics, which can lead to hot spots or total panel failure. While you're at it, look at what's around the panels. Are there any new shadows being cast? Trees are the usual suspects here, and you've got to understand, even a small, consistent shadow on one tiny corner of a panel can slash the energy production of the entire string of panels, not just the one it's touching. Finally, glance at the mounting hardware. From your safe spot on the ground, check for any visible rust, corrosion, or loose-looking clamps and bolts. Spotting a problem here early can prevent a panel from taking flight in a big storm. This whole process takes maybe 10 minutes, but it's the foundation of being a smart solar owner. Now, that visual check leads directly to point 2, probably the most debated topic in solar maintenance: cleaning your panels. Cleaning your panels. You've probably heard that rain is enough to keep them clean, and yeah, a good downpour helps, but it's not a deep clean. Rain washes away loose dust, but it often leaves behind a grimy film from pollution and pollen. And it definitely won't scrub off stubborn bird droppings. The National Renewable Energy Laboratory has noted that soiling from dirt, dust, and pollen can lead to significant efficiency losses, with some studies showing drops of up to 25% in certain conditions. So yes, cleaning matters, but how you clean is just as important as if you clean. Getting it wrong can cause permanent damage and even void your warranty. First, timing. The best time to clean your panels is early in the morning or late in the afternoon when they're cool to the touch. Never ever spray cold water on hot panels in the middle of a sunny day. That extreme temperature shock can cause tiny, invisible microcracks in the solar cells. So, what should you use? Honestly, most of the time, a garden hose and a soft bristled brush on an extension pole are all you need. A simple rinse does a world of good. For more stubborn grime, a bucket of water with just a drop or two of mild, biodegradable dish soap will work. Gently scrub the surface with the soft brush, and then rinse it completely so no soapy film is left behind. And for safety, it's always a good idea to shut your system down completely before you start cleaning. What you should not use is even more critical. Do not use a high-pressure washer. Also, stay away from harsh chemical cleaners or abrasive scrubbers. They will scratch the glass, permanently hurting its ability to capture light and almost certainly voiding your warranty. So, how often? It really depends on where you live. If you're in a dusty, agricultural, or polluted area, you might need to clean them 2 or 3 times a year. For most suburban homes, once a year is plenty. The best way to know for sure is to keep an eye on your system's performance. This brings us to point 3, where you go from being a passive solar owner to an active system manager. This brings us to point 3, where you go from being a passive solar owner to an active system manager. Your solar array has a voice, and it speaks the language of data. Learning to listen is the single best way to catch hidden problems. Your tool is your solar monitoring system, usually an app on your phone or a website from your inverter company. A lot of homeowners just glance at their app to see the dollar savings at the end of the month. That's great, but you're missing its most powerful feature, trend analysis. Get in the habit of checking your production at least once a week. Here's a pro tip. Start a simple log or spreadsheet. Once a month on a clear, sunny day, write down your system's kilowatt output around high noon. Over time, this log creates a powerful baseline. You'll be able to compare May of this year to May of last year. A tiny, gradual drop of about 0.5% per year is totally normal as panels age. But a sudden, sharp drop of 10% or more, or if your year-over-year numbers are down by 5%, that's a massive red flag. That's your system screaming that something is wrong. What could it be? It might just be dirty panels. It could be that new shading issue from a neighbor's tree. Or it could be something more serious that's invisible from the ground, like a failing inverter, a loose connection, or one bad panel dragging down an entire section of your array. Your monitoring system is your early warning system. Ignoring these alerts is like ignoring the check engine light on your car. The problem won't fix itself, and it will only get more expensive to fix later. Before we hit our last 2 points, which are absolutely critical for the long-term health and safety of your system, if you're finding this checklist helpful, do me a quick favor and hit that like button. It really helps the channel reach more homeowners just like you. Alright, now let's talk about point number 4, keeping the area around your panels clear. Alright, now let's talk about point number 4, keeping the area around your panels clear. This is about more than just a clean surface. It's about managing the whole zone. The most obvious threat is shading. Like we said, trees grow. The perfect spot you chose 3 years ago might now be shaded by a fast-growing tree. Regularly trimming branches that hang over your panels is one of the best things you can do to maintain peak production. Next is debris. In the fall, leaves can pile up on and around your panels. This is a problem for 2 reasons. First, wet leaves block sun. Second, and more importantly, they trap moisture against your roof and mounting hardware, which can speed up wear and tear and even become a fire hazard. And that brings us to critters. Squirrels and pigeons love the safe, sheltered space under solar panels. The problem is they don't just nest there, they chew. If you see signs of critters, it's usually time to call a pro. They can clear out the nests and install a critter guard, a mesh screen that keeps them out for good. Finally, a special note for anyone in a snowy climate. After a heavy snowfall, your panels will be buried and your production will be zero. The urge to get up there with a roof rake is strong, but you have to resist it. Using a hard tool to clear snow is a guaranteed way to scratch the glass, crippling your panel's efficiency. They are built to handle the weight of snow and are designed to shed it as the sun comes out. Just be patient. The few hours of production you might gain aren't worth thousands in damage. Resisting that urge brings us to our 5th and final point, and honestly, it's the most important one for the long-term safety and performance of your system, knowing when to call a professional. Resisting that urge brings us to our 5th and final point, and honestly, it's the most important one for the long-term safety and performance of your system, knowing when to call a professional. Your solar setup is a high-voltage power plant on your roof. While the DIY checks we've covered are your job, some tasks should only be done by a qualified solar technician. Hiring a pro for a checkup every year or 2 isn't a sign of failure. It's just smart asset management. You take your car for a scheduled service, right? Treat your solar investment the same way. So, what do they do that you can't? First, they work safely. They have the training, harnesses, and gear to work on a roof without risking their life or your shingles. Second, they do a full electrical inspection. They'll open up the inverter, check the wiring for corrosion or pest damage, and look for loose connections that can be serious fire hazards. Third, they check the physical installation. Using a torque wrench, they'll test and tighten the bolts on the mounting hardware to make sure your array is locked down tight and ready for high winds. Fourth, they have diagnostic tools you don't. They can run advanced tests to measure the exact performance of each string of panels, allowing them to pinpoint an underperforming panel with surgical precision, something your app can only hint at. Finally, they'll focus on your inverter. The inverter is the hardest working part of your system, and it typically has a shorter lifespan than the panels, often 10 to 15 years for standard string inverters. A pro can check its health and error logs, helping you budget for a replacement long before it suddenly dies on you. Calling a professional isn't an expense, it's an investment in peace of mind. So there you have it, the 5-point solar maintenance check every homeowner should be doing. Let's recap real quick. Visual inspection. Look for damage, dirt, and shadows from the ground. Careful cleaning. Use the right tools at the right time. Performance monitoring. Use your app to spot problems early. Clear surroundings. Manage trees, leaves, and pests. Know when to call a pro. Schedule professional checkups for safety and deep diagnostics. Following this checklist isn't about adding chores to your list. It's about protecting one of the biggest investments you've made in your home. What's your solar maintenance routine? Ever find a problem with your monitoring app? Share your stories and questions in the comments below. I read everyone, and your experience could help another homeowner. And if you want more practical tips to make your home more energy efficient and save money, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss what's next. Thanks for watching.